The state has the power to come in there and physically move you from your homes before the floods happen. We forecast the floods. The Met Office did. And here we have an emergency warning system. So, residents have been trapped in their homes. As we speak tonight, we're told at least by the fire service, 9 lives lost. And it hurts me to say that by the time we have the full count, it will be definitely more than 9. Definitely more than 9. You have to blame ourselves because we are part of the problem, putting filth into the drains. The politicians allow us to do it, and then they complain about it. That, for me, is an important point. We've known that people will put filth in the drains. They'll choke it. They'll build on waterways. It's been happening since independence. So that's not news. So we can't blame the people. When you allow them to do it, when there's no deterrence, that's people get away with, they'll return and do it again and again and again. So the people are dying. ECG grid core substations have been flooded. We have buildings collapsing, we've been told about it. We have fire again. And where the fire happened today is just meters away from the June 3rd flood and fire disaster. There at Circle, just meters away. Same area, same area. And then we have another thing we've been told today, the issues around the government response. Boats deployed. When I was a kid living in Dabraka in 1995, when I remember that West flood disaster, boats were deployed, right? To that area, it was very severe at the time. It's been deployed again. That's exactly what we're doing again, right? Boats were deployed. Armed Forces Engineer Regiment deployed. We do that too, anytime it happens. Let's go. Also today, we saw a few other things. Fire service and NADMO deployed. We do that again. Today, fire again. And it's just strange that anytime this level of flood in terms of the quantum of water dumped on Accra happens, we tend to also have fire. Marine police, that's a new one, and I was there myself on the ground talking to the Marine police commander, DCOP, Reynolds and his team, doing a fantastic job. By the way, let's applaud our gallant men in uniform and the responders today, emergency responders who have done a great job. Some of them had to swim against the high tide and against the rushing and gushing water into people's homes to save lives. They were putting their own lives at risk to save all of us. National Fire Service, the police, Marine Police in particular, the Ghana Armed Forces, the Fire Service, all of them, NADMO, have done a great job, and we need to applaud them for the work that they've done today. Life jackets were distributed today to the men who are on the ground. Workers were told to stay home early in the morning, and the Interior Ministry was really proactive today. And we need to applaud the ministry and the minister. Very proactively, early in the morning, got onto the radio, issued statement, desperately telling people, stay at home. And you must factor that into the numbers that we'll see in terms of fatalities, because many more people would have gone and just faced the floods, but for that very early, very quick intervention that the ministry put out, the minister in particular, Muntaka Mubarak, so, and again, they also deployed text messages. The early warning system I was mentioning should have triggered this yesterday for people to move because of the impending floods and heavy rains. That didn't happen, but at least whilst it will happen, we're putting messages across after it happened. If you failed in the first instance, get it right whilst people are suffering. I guess that's what they did. But we'll talk about that early warning system when we sit down for a conversation. And then there you have it. The Works and Housing Minister issued a statement. And that statement he put out, I can find 10 such statements over the last 20 years, and they all sound the same. They will tell you emergency response teams have been activated. They will tell you evacuation support has been put in. Relief items have been distributed. When I was younger in Adabraka, they would bring us relief items, rice and oil and stuff. So that is not new. Again, template. In fact, if you move him, You can put works and housing ministers, the presidents in this image here, and they'll all be telling you this over the last 20 years. Assessment of damaged infrastructure, we've said it before. Intensified drainage clearing. Now, pay attention to intensified. When I play you that clip from 2018, you will hear John Mahama use the same word, intensify. Template. Continual removal of illegal structures. We all know the structures are illegal. We've left them there. First of all, we left them to build it. To build, finish, living, then we go and demolish. Development of new drainage channels. This is a template for our politicians. Anytime it happens, you just dump the words on us. It's like same script, different actors. That is how we call that report we curated and played in 2018. It was Israel Lai who was on air at the time. It was my colleague, Jojo Kobana, who put that report together. And we called it Same Script, Different Actors. Same script, different actors. Watch.
Last Monday night's rain claimed at least 8 lives in flash floods that followed. One of the very tragic outcomes is the death of Dr. Aya Hayfron, whose grieving husband affected many others. It wasn't the first time lives have been lost to floods, though. Headlines capturing floods in Accra as predictable as the rainy seasons that cause a havoc, and yet nothing seems to change. Jojo Kobna in the following report recaps why it can sometimes get very frustrating having to report on problems which seem to never go away.
Even though I could go back many years, let's start from 2014.
Now, many parts of the national capital today have been inundated as choke drains have made it difficult for rainwater to freely flow. This is not the first time Accra has been hit by floods, and almost every year the story or the reasons being given for the floods are the same.
In 2015, we reported again.
The cycle of flood is here again, and year by year, major cities in the country get flooded. The reasons, as always, are the same. Lack of planning, pouring of waste into drains, and a host of other human activities. When will it ever stop? What will it take to save our cities from the perennial vulture cycle of flooding?
We're still in the capital and on the floods. Several residents within Aveno in Accra were temporarily thrown out of their homes by the flash floods. The affected residents are unsure how or where to pass the night.
Then the fire and flood disaster occurred, killing 150 people. Musicians sang about the flood disaster. Politicians promised never again.
Drastic steps are necessary here if we are to permanently address this perennial problem. We'll intensify our efforts to expand and modernize our drainage system.
But in 2016, we're back to the same script.
Hydrological engineer at the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, Wise Ametafe, has blamed yesterday's flooding on blockages in channels leading to the Addo drain.
In 2017, an elaborate plan was announced to once again end perennial flooding.
The government will, in the coming days, announce a comprehensive plan to deal permanently with the perennial flooding in the capital, Accra. The city's mayor, Mohamed Ni Ejeisoa, says the new comprehensive plan will focus on redesigning the drainage system.
Clearly, we are back to the same pointers again. Journalists have reported, musicians have sung about it, politicians have promised, yet nothing has changed.
And I'm not looking forward to coming to sit here next year and talk about how many people are dying because of flood. We certainly need the authorities to do something.
Need I say more? If you're not tired by now, and if you're a politician, you watch this, we voted for you, you don't bow your heads in shame, issue an apology, resign, then I don't know what's wrong with you. You don't deserve to be there in the first place. If you watch that, you're a politician, a member of parliament, you have been voted for in a position of authority. You don't bow your head in shame tonight. You don't apologize to us, resign, then I have nothing else to tell you. Did you hear the president when we played that clip there use the word intensify? That was 2015. 2026, his minister who toured with him today in a helicopter is using the same word, intensify. Need I say more? So he joined his boss, who was there before, superintendent of a June 3rd flood disaster, set up a committee, looked into it, told us all manner of things as you heard there. Nothing happened. Again, they went to inspect, which really is a script. They will inspect, they will go around, either in a helicopter or in person. They will set up committees. The committees will now issue a report. They will make speeches and issue statements, which is what, it's a template. That's what will happen. And then they will say bombastic things like intensify, drastic. We heard the president say that. Call for our support. Criticize the citizens for throwing, which after 1 week, they'll go to bed. We'll all go to sleep. Wait for next year. So the president did exactly that. The script, he started it. Inspection. He inspected, which is the template. This is the first thing they do, is to inspect. Watch him.
We just finished an aerial tour of Accra to inspect the flooded areas. Unfortunately, the flooding has been very extensive today for several reasons. One, the recorded rainfall today is one of the highest in several years. The Meteo are looking at approximately 140 millimeters that was dumped on Accra. Last year, the maximum rainfall was 56 on a single day. And so the volumes are much higher. And so there are many issues to the flooding in Accra. There's climate. If you look at the rainfall pattern from 2024, 2025, 2026, you see that increasingly every year we're getting more rain in Accra than we used to get. GMET say that in 2024, for a period of 30 days in June, we had 85 millimeters of rain. And then in 2025, it increased to 172. And then in 2026, for the same 30-day period in June, it increased to 333. And so the waterways are not getting a chance to recover before more rain is dumped. And the wet days are more. Out of 30 days, 22 days, it kept raining. And so there were only 7 dry days or 8 dry days in June. And so that's the climate side. That is an act of God that we can't control. But then there's also the engineering and the man-made causes. That is, like I said before, Accra is built between 2 natural bodies, the Kwapim Mountain Range and the Atlantic Ocean. And before Accra was built, the streams used to flow through this plain to reach the sea. Now, the British brought the capital to Accra, and in those years it was not a problem because Accra was a very small city. But as the population continues to increase and people continue to build, it restricts the path of the streams on their way to the Atlantic. So that's an engineering problem. We need to see how to open the channel so that the water can pass. But then there's also the other aspect, which is attitudinal and human behavior. That is dumping garbage in the drains putting all kinds of items in the drains after we finish creating waste instead of sending it to the appropriate place. Even in the air, we discovered many illicit dumping sites where the wetlands are. People have gone to create a waste dumping ground, and they charge 20 cedis for the aboboya to come and fill the waste into the wetlands. And when it has filled sufficiently, they sell the land to people to come and build on it. And so we need to, one, look at it from an engineering perspective in terms of how we can open up the channels, but at the same time, look at how we can identify all the buildings that are obstructing the waterways. We've said this many times. I'm tired of hearing it, but anytime you begin to take action and you start breaking houses, people think that government is inhumane. But when the problem arises like this flood, it affects everybody. And so all of us have been affected because of the conduct of a few people blocking the channels and preventing the water from passing. And so we'll call a National Security Council meeting. We're asking every district to identify, together with the Works and Housing Ministry, where the blockages in the channels are as they pass through the district assemblies, so that we can earmark those places for removal. We'll not only break the houses, we have to move the rubble out of the way, because there's no use breaking a house and leaving the rubble in the waterway. It's just the same as leaving the house. And so it's going to be quite a major issue in order to resolve the problem of Accra. But ultimately, the other solution will be to decongest Accra. And that's why we're planning that we move some of the city out, that is the major government departments, and then also create a new center of growth so that our people will start building outside Accra in a new city, instead of everybody looking for some space in Accra to build. So, but that's a long-term solution. Like I said, it's a 20-year project. They are still working on the designs. Once they do that, we'll demarcate. People can start buying plots. If they like, they can start building houses. We'll do the roads, bring the water and electricity, so that it eases the pressure on Accra as a city. But I just want to express my sympathy with people who have lost property. Loss of property has been very extensive, and I want to thank the military, NADMO, the police, and the Hydro, Works and Housing Ministry, and all the emergency response team, 48th Engineers Regiment, for the rescue that they did. I've seen many of the videos where people had to be carried out of their houses. They deployed their boats, and they helped to save quite a lot of lives. NADMO will do what it can to try and identify the victims and see how we can just support them in a way in the next few days. I've asked the Minister of Finance to release some money from the contingency fund so that we can do some post-flood relief for persons who have been affected. And so let me again express my sympathy, but let us change our attitude and let us find a permanent solution to this Accra flooding problem. We shouldn't become like the vulture who, anytime it is raining, he says as soon as it stops raining, you repair his roof. And then as soon as it stops raining, he says, oh, it has stopped raining, so there's no need to repair the roof. This time should be different.
Did you hear the president say, "We are tired"? He used the words. He himself is tired. He said it himself in that sound there. This was after he told. That was the first thing they do in the script. The script, the template. They talk, they inspect. For the first time, I've heard a certain president use the word tired. He's tired. He says, but then he says, but when it happens, look, he's tired. I am tired. You must be. And by the way, don't tell me I'm not affected. I lived in the Fraplon area for decades. My family still lives there. Today, I went and evacuated them to a safe haven So don't tell me, oh, you can be. I am directly affected. Directly. The president says he's tired. And then he goes on to say the things that he's been saying. For years, John Mahama 1, John Mahama 2, same script, different actors. Now, even for him, in his case, he's the same actor. In his case, he's the same actor. I told you about intensified. It's back in a statement that his Works and Housing Minister used. And then he used the word major intervention. In 2015, after June 30, he changed the word. He said drastic measures. Nothing happened. As my Ghana people in Adabraka who were sleeping rough tonight say, Shelley, nothing happened. We're back here. I have no faith in anything he said. Absolutely zero. And as for the MPP, don't start. You have absolutely no moral authority. We're there. And you saw the report we played. We went back 2017, 2018. Same people told that they would do. They said they would finish it for. I remember Nanado was at the Odo talking about inspecting the drainage, and Kujo Nkrumah, I remember when he became minister, warned us, sitting here as a minister, that the floods were coming. He wasn't prepared because money had not been released. So I don't want to hear any NDC, MPP person issue a statement to say anything. All of you must bow your heads in shame. If you're a politician, you've been in power before, you don't bow your head in shame, you don't apologize to us, and resign, we can't say anything to you. But unfortunately, the Met Office is telling us that more rains are expected. In fact, this is May 25th, when they told us that June and July, we should brace ourselves. Heavier rains expected. And you saw, I'll tell you very shortly, when we got huge amounts of money to do a few things to avert this, include early warning. Early warning. And we sat, our politicians, people in power and authority, sat, waited. And they'll tell you today, the statement they said, oh, we started demolishing buildings and please. And last year, the president set up some flood task force made up of the deputy chief of staff and others. They were with him in a helicopter when they were flying. The fact that the floods happened today says they failed and people died. It's the evidence is today. And don't get me started on the heavy rains. Today was, last year was 60 millimeters, this year 100. And so what? And so what happened today should not be causing the kind of damage that we saw today. Nobody can tell me otherwise. Because we've had too many opportunities to fix this over time. If we're doing it incrementally, the amount that we saw today, we shouldn't lead to that. Why? Because we were told it will happen. Why is the president? Is he surprised? Met Office told you it will happen. They can forecast and tell you the quantum of rain you can expect. So, this is daily graphic. So again, I'm just going by, it's not NDC-MPP problem. NDC-MPP, they were not even there in 1960. But it was there. When the rains came to Accra, daily graphic, 1960, April 18, 1960. Rains came to Accra, left people stranded. People were scooping water from here. This picture, if you took this picture and you make it into a color, put it in some form of an AI, turn this into a nice car, you would think it's at Adabraka, where my parents are. It's the same. You were scooping water. You know in 1960. So for politicians from 1960, immediate post-independence to 2026, all must bow their heads in shame. Because we give them the mandate to fix a problem. And I don't want to hear this about people are throwing dust and rubbish and things into a drain. That's what we do. That's what we give the power to fix us, sanction us, enforce the bylaws, imprison a few people, throw the book at them. When you do that, people will begin to change. And when you leave people to throw that and then you come and complain, the president was complaining. But I think he himself, as he spoke, he started feeling guilty. Then he says, I know sometimes you get tired. He used those words. But that's the truth. Building in waterways. He said they're going to demolish. I've had that before. 1960, April 1960. April 18, Daily Graphic. So please don't tell me that when people are building equipment, rockets, to colonize Mars in 2026, we can't fix basic flooding. It's taken us 60 years plus, and we still can't fix it. We haven't even scratched the surface of the problem. And unfortunate thing is that World Bank and others are giving us lots of money to fix the problem. So, template. This is President Mahama, same actor, yeah? June 3rd, 2015, 2026, when his minister issued a thing, side by side, what he said then and what they are saying now. Same government. Clear illegal structures on waterways. That's what he said in 2015. Did you hear him say that in that clip we played? Same. We'll clear the illegal structures. He said it. And then the thing that he said that shocked me was, they are now going to get the assemblies to now identify, Jesus Christ, identify the areas where the people are building waterways. And I was talking when I heard it, you don't know? In 2015, you said you clear. So wait, when you were saying it, you didn't know that where they were? Everybody knows where. Everybody knows the buildings in waterways in Accra. You're saying they're not going to form a committee. Script, tour, inspect, form committees. That's what they're going to do. Same script. 2015, he said this. Now, 2026, official statement, apart from what he said there, demolish buildings on waterways. 2015, same government. They said they would do this. They had a year before they went out of power. They didn't. They've come back a year on. They're still saying the same thing. Let's go on. Enforce building safety codes. 2015. 2026. Firmer action against waterway encroachment. Please. Enforce sanitation bylaws. He's talking about it. Why? Because we know people would put the rubbish in the drain. That's why we had bylaws, enforce it. They're not doing it. They waited. They didn't do. Comprehensive national flooding presentation. Deseal drains and lagoons. 2015 after June 3rd. Move beyond routine disaster response. Improve Accra's drainage infrastructure. Intensify public education on flood prevention. Same script. In this case, same characters. Right? That is why we are here. It has nothing to do, this is not an act of God. I beg to differ. It has nothing to do with God. It has everything to do with us refusing to fix the problem. No act of God. Don't believe it for a second. There's an act of God. It is us. We the people, our leaders, conspiring to murder ourselves. Flooding in Accra is a problem of indiscipline. That president recently, he said that, of course, I mean, stating the obvious. And he said it in an international platform and that it's indiscipline is the reason why we have the local assembly. We have the bylaws. What's the cure to indiscipline? Is discipline. Instill it in us. Because we won't do it. Force us to be disciplined. How difficult is that? The reason why the Ghanaian on the streets of London will not litter, but will litter here, is that in London you won't get away with it. Here you will. Nobody will ask a question. We all drive, people throw the thing from the window. They move. Nobody stops them, they go. You can't do that in London because the police, you will be arrested. You will be charged. You will be prosecuted. So you won't do it. That's why you have discipline there, we lack it here. So Ghanaians are disciplined. The society makes us undisciplined because the people we've elected and given the power to discipline us have decided to join us in indiscipline. Ramsar site. This is 2016, by the way, just before the NDC left power. This is a water body. See the demarcated area here. We talked about it, right, for a while. Now, let's come to 2024. You see how encroached that site is? It's encroached because we watched it develop. We're now building and demolishing. NPP talked about this and did nothing. And Akufo-Addo, they did nothing. They talked about this. The former head of the Forestry Commission talked about this. He went there. They said they would demolish. Lots of talk. No action. We are here. They have inherited it, this NDC government. They started demolishing a few buildings there. The president said to demolish more. We'll see. Because the politicians have bought a lot of the prime lands around this area. I'm told that parts of the politicians have bought. So they will even that they will do the poor folks and leave the guys, the politicians. Go to a breed, they are talking about all this. The people who are buying lands in the breed, thousands of dollars, right? The capping ranges, they built, the poor guys can't afford it. The politicians, they control the money. The elite. Okay. And this is the World Bank. They're giving us money. We are even taking money from banks to fix the problem. 350 million World Bank financing. So far as we checked, 137 million spent so far, 40% of the total. What do we use it for? And this, by the way, we got money to fix the problem, right? As of April 2026, when we did the last update on the matter, early flooding warning. That's what was our key achievements under the project. This is what they told us. As of April 2026, they said they have achieved this. They have set up an early flood warning system which is fully operational. It's a joke. If this was working, my mom should have been told somehow that today she should pack, lock up, leave, don't be there. Vehicles would have driven through because we know the flood-prone areas at Abraka and Odona, and tell them, move. Rains are coming tomorrow, it's going to fall, it's going to exceed 100 milliliters or whatever it is, and so move. Early warning, it was 0. So they slept, woke up, floods in there. They were sitting on walls and had to drive and rescue and evacuate. Walls. They didn't know what was happening. And yet we said we spend money on early flood warning system, which is fully operational. 194,000 cubic meters of Odo channel dredged. Really? I was there today. I was on the ground, by the way. I'm not sitting, I was on the ground today. Odo was overflown. This area here, Odo area was if it's dredged. And we spoke to somebody from the Works and Housing Ministry who told us that they didn't complete the dredging. So that's an admission. Engineering designs completed for detention ponds. Okay, we're sitting on it. Project financing resumed with 10.5 million dollars. And we spent loads. The kind of money we say we spent on this matter, jaw-dropping, and then the problem persists. Someone needs to probe this, by the way. So we are left with this. There are thousands tonight who won't sleep under shelter. The thousands tonight who have been displaced. Many families have lost loved ones. My family have been displaced, so I've moved them. There are many who can't afford to move theirs, and so they would sleep in the open tonight. They will beg others to help them sleep in makeshift tents and wherever it is that they can manage. They will sleep with friends. Their rooms, their beds are soaked, so you can't sleep there. There's cholera that is now pending. That may happen because if you go to these communities too, the lack of wash facilities will mean all the filth and the fecal matter will all be washed, and this is a ripple effect. And so we're going to have cholera, which is going to kill people later this year because this is going to happen. And it's just June. The Met office told us in May that June and July will have floods out of the ordinary. So July is coming. July is coming. I don't want to hear people say we should pray. No, God will not listen to this kind of prayer when He's giving you everything to fix the problem that you refuse to fix. So my guests will join me. We'll talk about it again, and we'll go away. As for us here, we've done series upon series and campaigns on floods. That one is part of the campaign we did in 2018. We did one in 2020, 2023. We did one in 2024. A campaign. We did a whole campaign before the floods. We called it after the flood. We did documentary. We did national dialogues. We've done everything a media organization should do on the matter. So tonight we'll talk again. We will talk. But that's my job, is to talk. It's too big a story that I wish I had avoided it. The president is tired. I mean, why shouldn't I be? But my guests will join me. We'll talk again. And then see that anything changes this time around. I have no faith it will. Next year, in fact, next year is too long. In the next few weeks, we'll be back here again. Maybe I won't do a show on it again. It'll probably be in the news. Just nothing, just repeating ourselves. More people will die, unfortunately. I may have to relocate my family again. Because the things that must be done, I can't do it. Like, I can't build a drain. I don't have the resources. I pay my taxes, so government does all those things for me. And so, unfortunately, let's have this conversation again. My guests will join me after this. Stay with me.
This week on E-Vibes, we catch up with the second D band led by legendary J-Double Ambule.
The motivation is coming from there, so my going around and singling them out, putting all them together, and for them to come and be part of it.
Everything has meaning, but not everything is as it seems. For every story told, there are versions of the truth.
We can't afford to look at this, the numbers that have been presented, and say, we are tired, it's the same old issue. No, somebody should be prosecuted.
Every opinion can be debated. Every claim can be challenged. Even the idea of the national interest can and must be interrogated.
This is the date it was. This was the date it was printed from the system.
That is what
what is he talking about?
Because sometimes the real facts are buried deep within layers of interpretation. So we ask the harder questions. We test every claim. We raise the standard of public discourse and place every issue on the altar of unbiased scrutiny. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first.
We stand beneath you. What are you doing? Clearly,
Newsfile with Samson Ladi Anyanini. On Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible.
NDC, when they were in opposition, I was part of those leading the charge on the Galamsey fight. We called out the president, and for which reason I said the president is practically the former president, probably the worst president we've ever had, because of Galamsey. They joined us. They talked about repealing the LI. They talked about the state of emergency. Yeah. They've been in office. And I'm just waiting for that 120 days to come to an end. Mr. President, you must live by your word. You cannot speak poetry in opposition and come and act prose when you are president. We expect a lot more from you in this fight. It's not about you, it's not about your tenure, it's about the future of our children and our children's children. And we expect you to hold the bull by the horn and act and deal with this matter decisively. We can't continue this way.
In a world where truth is contested, platforms are powerful, and democracy is under pressure, what shapes the story? The University of Media, Arts and Communication, through its School of Journalism and Media Studies, invites you to the State of Journalism, Media and Communication Conference 2026. Theme: Navigating the Future, Journalism, Media and Communication in a Dynamic World. Join global thought leaders, including the Vice-Chancellor of UNIMAC, Professor Eric Opoku-Mensah, Rector Professor Christiana Hammond, and Professor H.A. Sikankun, Dean of the School of Journalism and Media Studies, Professor Gregory Gonwi, Associate Professor at California State University, Juliet Amwa, Country Director, Emerging Public Leaders, Ghana, Kunle Adebajo, Investigations Editor, Professor Abena Enimwa Bain, Dean, School of Information and Communication Studies, University of Ghana, and Ryan Kellett, 2025 Neiman Beckman Klein Fellow at Harvard University, for 2 days of powerful conversations on AI and the future of journalism, journalistic professionalism in Africa, media democracy and civic culture, fact-checking, misinformation.
For stay with us here on PM Express. A very tragic day indeed. And thank you for agreeing to join us and to have this conversation again. I know it's been a very difficult day for most people, especially for those who have experienced it before, like I have, over many decades. It's tragic. But again, let's do it one more time. PMSS is always brought to you by Syntex Tank, also brought to you by Pepsi and Cavity Fighter Toothpaste, and brought to you also by Stanbic CIB. And my guests joining me tonight, I'm delighted that the Interior Minister, Muntaka Mubarak, can also join me. As I said today, he was very proactive. It was happening, but he was very proactive in letting us know what to do very quickly, early in the morning. And that, I believe, was very significant in saving more lives. Because I had there very early in the morning, and that informed the decisions I made with my own family in terms of who's going out and who's not. And when I left the house, also informed by the quick warnings that they were giving during the time. But we'll talk about the early warning too, because that's important. And then also joining me is Dennis Ajano Nate. He's the Greater Accra Director of NADMO. Also joins us. Mr. Nate, thank you for your time here on PM Express. And Richard Kofi Ameko is head drainage department in the Ghana Hydrological Authority. And Dr. Ignatius Kweku-Williams is the Deputy Director General of the Operations at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. That word is difficult for me, tongue twister, so I always say Met Office. So he's joining us too to tell us about what to expect tomorrow, because the forecast is part of the early warning system, and I need him to tell us that, because that will inform my decisions tomorrow, and that should inform yours too. And we'll also be speaking pretty shortly to Rashid Kwame and Sao, who's the Greater Accra Regional Commander of the Ghana National Fire Service, because they've also been involved in this. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time here on PM Express. I want to start with the Minister. Mr. Mubarak, thank you for your time once again. And do we know, as we speak tonight, an estimate of how many people have been displaced, how many fatalities we have?
Well, I mean, good evening to you and good evening to your listeners. I know it's been a long day. I know how you feel. I've listened to your intro. I know it's very heavy, but I just want to say that, yes, I mean, nobody's happy about what's happening. Everybody, I mean, you heard the president himself, so he summarizes it all. But to ask specifically, you answer straight to your questions. I mean, the flooding was really, really widespread. It covered over 25 suburbs in Accra. And unfortunately, as we speak now, the brief I have is that we lost 9 lives. And I think about 4 persons are still not found. Those who were washed away, they've still not been found, so we say they are missing. So it's very, sad. But let me say, Evans, I want you to just oppose the discussion properly. I heard your intro. I've seen how you are passionate and the pain. But I want to make this not to defend or to try to play down on what's happened, but just to let you know that it's a global phenomenon. It has nothing to do with how rich or poor you are. And I'll give an example. America is the richest country in the world. In fact, in America, when you go, the richest state you have in America is California. When you want the economy of California to stand alone, it's the 6th largest economy in the world, standing alone. Just check. I'm challenging you now, Google now. You see that in just December, 6 months ago, California had floods. 3 people lost their life. Not because they are poor, not because they didn't have systems, not because they didn't have drains, but there was flood that led to 3 people losing their life. New York City, one of the busiest cities in the world, had flood about a year ago. People lost their life. Toronto had flood about a year ago. And they had massive flood in 2024. They had another flood just about 2 months ago in March, and people lost their life. So I'm not just opposing this argument to water down on what is happening. But believe me, the volume of water that we receive today is the 4th largest since 1995. And you cannot tell me that it didn't contribute. Look, we could have had the excellent drain in Accra today. Accra will have flooded. We could have had the best, cleanest drain. Accra will have flooded. I don't know whether you saw the area view. I can see that you are showing on your TV. Yeah. Unless the whole of Accra was supposed to be a drain, it's the only way you can say that there wouldn't be flooding. Are there other human activities that is exacerbating this? I agree with you. Yes, we could have still, maybe it could have been as worse as bad or as bad as this. But that's why I just oppose it with countries that are very rich. They have the human resource, they have the financial muscles, they have the best of drains, they have the best of brains. They had flood and people died. So let's not make it look as if it is so evil. I mean, I heard you talk about politicians should feel ashamed, people should buy their head in shame, people should resign. Please, ask you and I, since we got independence, when did we get independence? Country is a very young country. America is over 300 years old. Yet in 2014, 2015, 2025, 2026, they are having flood and people are dying. This is a developing country. So let's just oppose the argument properly. I am not holding brief for anybody. I know that we could do far more. And believe me, you know me, we'll be passionate about this. We need to be able to strengthen our district assemblies so that we'll be able to take the bull by the horn. Because remember, governance is a shared responsibility. The citizens have their role to play. Those in government have their role to play. Politics has its own role to play. all of it, the negative, the positive, all of it that makes up our society. I mean, we are not going to, I've shown you some statistics from the 1960s. Look, the rain that we've had in this June is the highest we've received since this country gained independence. And I'm happy you said that you're going to have the Met person in place. Let him tell you, this year, June 2026, has received the highest river ever, the highest rain this country has ever received in the record of this country. And that's 593 millimeters of water. You can't just discount that and say that all that didn't matter if we had a certain kind of drain, it could have soaked all this water. No. What about our response? What could we have done to have minimized the loss of life? Yes, I was calling my colleague, the Western Housing Minister. I must agree, there's some problem that we have as a country. People like to work in silos. If I tell you the efforts I have to make from last night all through to this morning, for you to see the kind of coordination that you saw these security people working today, you have no idea. People are just talking about silos. As you are talking, this flood early warning system, it sits with Minister of Works and Housing. And specifically, that's the hydrological department. That sits with Minister of Works and Housing. The Met that you are talking about sits with Minister of Communication. NADMO sits with Minister of Interior. I want you to ask them, as state institutions, forget about we the politicians, let's take the technocrat. When was the last time they met as rescue group or as people who have been charged with the operational responsibility of managing early warning, flood, and what have you, to even discuss what they have to do? If you include so much, they say, oh, the minister is virtually descending into operations. Even today, I was reminded in one meeting, no, ministers are not supposed to descend into operations. But you see things happening and you are asking questions. People are not answering. And you can just see gaps. People are interested in being occupying the position rather than actually acting. And some of them, they rise to the position. If I tell you, I'm sorry to say this, it's today, it's very early morning today that I spoke to the Director General of Met for the first time since I came. Because I mean, it's just with Minister of Communication. You try to, no, I don't work under you. I work under the Minister of Communication. I'm not saying that that's right, but that's the mentality. One of the efforts, what are we doing to make sure that these things do not repeat themselves? At least today you've seen what some of the things that we'll be able to do. It isn't perfect, but at least everybody will attest to the fact there's some level of improvement. For the first time to have gotten my colleague, the Minister of Communication, and I thank Honorable Sandor sincerely. I called him, I said, look, you need to help us. Can you get the telecos to send messages? He was very swift. I believe that this is the thing that we need to be doing. I've spoken to the Secretary to the President. We've agreed that as the Secretary to the President, he'll be able to pull all of us as ministers together to come and sit down and make sure that we prepare ourselves. Because, like you rightly said, I mean, we had this warning that June, July is not going to come easy. June, July, yes, but if you ask the Met person, I'm happy you said that it's going to speak. Ask him for today. When did they give us the actual alert that this will happen? Yesterday night, 11 p.m. 11 p.m. when majority of Ghanaians were asleep. This country is not a rich country where we have shelters where we can collect people and go and put them. I mean, this country is not that rich. Let's not be running away from actual responsibility and facing the reality. This country is not a rich country. We have our limitation in terms of what we can do, in terms of the resources that are bestowed on us. So, yes, I agree, we could do more, but let's not make it look like all politicians, I mean, people are not thinking about the country, they are just thinking about themselves, they put them in position, they are not proactive. I can bet you, we didn't sleep. I didn't sleep, and I know the time that I have to speak to the president early in the morning, I wake him up. And he's been up and asking questions almost throughout till he went around to sleep. So yes, we are really very sorry for the loss of life.
We are sorry that this thing has really devastated Accra, but believe me, the only way this rain today could have been avoided into going people's home was by being to lap the whole of Accra as a drain, because you can see it from the area view. Yes, our human activities, building on waterways, what have you, we've been taxing the district assemblies. That is why we have the district assemblies. We've been pushing. The president has been talking about. All of us have been talking about it. We can assure you that we'll do our best.
Yeah.
Once we, the human beings, don't want to change our mind, unless you are saying that we should go and imprison almost everybody. So we need the collaboration of the communities, the churches, the faith-based community leaders. Everybody needs to appreciate that this affects all of us, and we all need to work it out together. I'm sorry, I sound very emotional because, Evans, believe me, I never had sleep. I've been absent morning.
And I'm happy that you're emotional, because if you are not emotional about this, then there's a problem. So I'm happy that you are. And I want to return to some of the big themes here. And I think there are three main themes there, just so that we are dealing with this factually. And I know, I'm happy you mentioned California, right? And there are some peculiarities there that for example, makes me emotional too about this subject. One is, yes, you are right about the extreme weather conditions. So that is common. You're right, it's a global phenomenon. We're seeing increasingly the challenge with climate change. But here's where it gets different. If you go to the California one you cited, and I just pulled it up so that I can understand, and I like being factual. Yes, there was extreme rainfall. And it was a primary trigger. And I'll come to tell you the volumes there and the volumes we are talking about now. And you see the vast difference there. But here in Accra, yes, extreme rainfall is still the trigger, but we then have urban planning and drainage failures playing a significant role in aggravating the problem. You don't have that in California. Then you have extensive flood forecasting, which you mentioned. That's one. You have evacuation alerts that are sent. You won't miss it. You have flood maps. You have engineered draining exits. You have all that in one that has been deployed. And so you will notice that you mentioned the number of fatalities. Yes, there are fatalities, but it's significantly less because there's mitigation there. We don't have that. We have chronic drainage deficiencies. We have blocked waterways. We have buildings in floodplains. We have poor solid waste management. And these things I'm saying, the president has said it as I played. In 2015, he's saying it now. That definitely is a problem for me, right? And this is not just an MPP problem. As I said, I went all the way back to 1960, right? And so that tells you there's something problem. But here's the difference most significantly. In the California case, it was described, when it rained, it was described, and the Met Office guys will tell us, as one in 1,000-year rainfall event, because they had, in some places, 200 to 315 mm rain fell in one day. The other difference is that it fell over a 4-day period. So there's heavy rainfall 4 days. Imagine if we had that. This is just overnight in Accra. So there are very marked differences in the two. And so the comparison, it's difficult for me to accept it because it's very, very different, right? If we had that same volume of rain in Accra, there won't be Accra. Okay, so, but I hear the point about the big picture. But for me, Mutamabra, and because you're emotional about it, I need to ask you, if you listen to politicians since 1960, and I showed it, template is the same. We know the solution. President said to us after June 3rd, we will deal with buildings and waterways. We will intensify, use the word, the drainage problem. Right now, we are saying the same thing. As a citizen, that makes me angry. It should make you angry too.
Well, understandably, obviously, it's true. Sometimes it's very hectic that when the district assembly didn't step out to do that, then you have the same political class calling and saying all manner of things. It will affect our fortunes, and they do that, and they put pressure on the MCA to stop. They want him to escape some of them. I agree with you. Very annoying. Very, very provocative. That's the kind of society that will find us. That's what I'm saying, that we need to make it a whole of society, a whole of government approach. If you think that only government can do it, in a democracy, believe me, no government alone can do it. Because of that attitude, we need to have it so that the church is talking about it, the mosque is talking about it. So when the political class dare to do it, they get the support. And it's not going to be used like a penalizing tool for election. And that is what is affecting them. I mean, I'm sorry to say, all of us come from different constituencies and sometimes behave differently. You go to Aswanzi, I'll tell you in 2012, we needed to construct some roads, we need to build some houses that were on the way. I asked that it should be done. People said that you lose the 2012 election. I said, look, I prefer to lose the election and have the roads than to win the election and not be able to do it. We went ahead, we broke those houses, we did the roads. I ended up winning with even a bigger margin. And I keep telling a lot of my policemen, look, it is better to do the right thing and lose an election than to be doing the wrong thing and keep power. But it's not everybody that understands it so. So yes, we need to have it as a whole of society and a whole of government approach. So long as you leave it to only the district assembly, Medina, I mean the gentleman there who is there, say maybe Honorable Paila, or you get to the Accra mayor. I mean this is an appointee. People will just go drumming and saying that he should even be removed and all that. And then, I mean, he's a human being. He panics. But if he gets, the church is with him, the mosque is with him, civil society are speaking with him, they are cheering him. Even those political actors that may be threatening him will begin to quail back. That's what I'm saying, that we need to look at it, because that is why probably since 1960 we've been dealing with it and we are not able to overcome it. Because it is one rare thing. When the regional minister, current regional minister and NADMO were going around breaking the house, you need to hear some of the comments. I invested in NDC. They didn't give me anything. Look at what they are not doing to my property. Who did we get to be speaking for the regional minister and NADMO? Nobody. So the regional minister, she's a politician. When she keeps hearing this kind of threatening noise, she begins to slow down. But if she was doing that and she was getting the community, cheering her up, coming out to support her, when these people are saying those, for lack of better, those rubbish, and she get people coming out to demonstrate in favor of what she's doing, you think that it will not strengthen her? You think that it will not strengthen the MMDCs? You think that it will not strengthen the NADMO officials that are working with her? It will. But everybody listens with her. And then before she realized, it's like she's standing alone and she begins to get afraid that, well, maybe when this noise is too much, the president will remove me. So she begins to slow down. Tell me this is not real. It is. So Evans, I agree with you. The problem is a whole society problem. All of us included. How do we get over it? If I just want to zero it down on all the politicians, that's where I want to beg and differ and tell you that is why since 1960, one government comes and goes, but the problems continue to persist. So how do we get everybody, in the studio, how do we get everybody's support when these things are going to happen? You remember I told you that we marked some 16 buildings for demolition. Yeah. We did the first one. Are you asking why is the other one not happening?
Why?
You are telling the guys, look, when are you going to do it? They are dragging their feet. Oh, this person has... I said, who is calling? Calling who? Do you want another person to lose his or her life? You get people just dragging their feet. But if we get the whole community massing up to support the action, it makes it a bit easier.
You see, you know why I put all the blame at the doorstep? Because leadership is everything. As for us citizens, we will do what we do. We will throw the water into the drain. We saw the videos. And by the way, those women we saw who were pushing, we haven't arrested them. At least I don't know. But if you can enforce and I read the president's list of to-dos after 2015, it includes strict enforcement of bylaws. It is there because we anticipated that people would just be irresponsible. If we threw people in, we punished them. Remember the town councils. We used to fear them I remember growing up, when they said town council in Bae, people were running, right? It mitigated. That is why leadership must take the full blame here. Because we all look up to you. We all look up to that leadership, and then we follow. If you allow us, we'll be in discipline. In California, if you throw the rubbish, you are in trouble. So people won't do the same. Ghanaian won't do that, but you'll do it here. And until our politicians take that responsibility and accept it, and say, look, if we don't take it, the people would, and damn the consequence. And you made a point. Because they're afraid of winning, they lose elections. So they don't then bite, they don't then do hard, they don't go. And they say people will come and punish you. They will blame you. Today when I went around, they said, oh, the politician, government. But it is them, but we're allowing them to do it. And that's why, for me, my anger, my frustration is that we must see our leaders lead us. Just lead us, and we'll follow. You know? So, but let's end. Let me ask you, I know you're very busy, so let me just wrap up with you on this. What will change now? What will change? We've heard the president. We've heard you. We know there's a National Security Council meeting that has been called. Something must change. And the president said something major. In 2015, he said drastic. What is it that will change now?
In fact, what I am very hopeful will change will be the interagency collaboration. And I have spoken to the Secretary to the President. If we can get to work together and avoid these silos, yes, we are resource constrained. We have the difficulty, but pulling together the little that we have and coordinating very effectively, I want to believe that a lot can change. And I'm sorry maybe using this morning. I mean, I have to call the Met Director General and constantly say that, look, can you update me every hour? I want to know what is going to happen every hour so that we can know the kind of preparedness. IGP, can you call the CDS? Can we get the Navy? Can we get the Marine Police? Can we get everybody? I don't want anybody to have any excuse. And it worked, meaning that if we can pull together, I mean, calling Honorable Sam George to say that, look, can you get the telcos to send this message? It is urgent. Can you get it quickly done? It got done. Meaning that if we have good faith and we are going to pull the little resources that we have to work together, we will be able to do a lot more. I'm not saying that there will be no flood. There will never be flooding in Accra. It may happen, but our response, the number of lives that may be lost will be far minimal than maybe we are doing. So, sure, my hope and prayer is that the Secretary of President is going to get us all to meet, and then we go to work together and make sure that we break the silos. At least that, I believe, we are capable of doing under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Thank you very much. That is Interior Minister. I'm grateful that you joined us, giving assurance that under the second coming of John, things will happen differently. I'm grateful that you joined me. Very honest conversations there. No hard feelings about it. He says he's emotional. I'm emotional too, and you must be. That's how you solve problems. You have to be angry first. If you're not upset about your current circumstance and you get comfortable, you are dead. And that's why we are dying. We need to be angry. It is the anger that moves us to take these decisive decisions. And the president is in a very peculiar position. He has nothing politically to lose yet. He's going. He's just finished. He has nothing. If he can leave us with one legacy, it has to be that it was under his second coming that we made a significant stride tangibly to resolve, and he put us on the path to, because I don't believe that this can be resolved in 2 years, but we could see the signs that it can happen immediately in the next 1 year. He has nothing to lose. He has to throw in everything to fix this problem. He failed to do it in 2015. This is his second opportunity to do it. Let's see if he does that. And I want to go now to the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Met Office, Dr. Ignatius Kweku Williams. And this, by the way, is so that we can all plan for tomorrow. So let's start with that, Williams. What are you expecting tomorrow as far as the forecast is concerned?
Hello, good evening, Evans. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
All right. So generally, what we are looking at tomorrow for especially southern Ghana, looking at the coast, the forest belt and adjoining inland areas, per the models and what we are looking at, it has enough moisture to support some cloud buildup, and we should expect some rain, not as much as we saw last night and today, tonight into early morning, tomorrow morning. Northern Ghana looks less moist, so rainfall is less likely to be a bit more isolated to particular areas, particularly parts of the northern and northeastern regions of Ghana. By Tuesday afternoon, there should be some chance of rain, and it may become more active over parts of southern Ghana. However, the stronger signals are closer to the coastal and forest zones, whilst the north is not showing much in terms of a widespread rainfall signal. So generally, we are expecting to have lower amounts of rainfall compared to today, and most of these are expected to be a bit isolated. However, we would expect that people would be able to follow the forecast as in case something should change generally. But from tonight into tomorrow morning, we should expect increasing cloudiness with possible showers, especially over the coastal, forest and middle belt.
Should I, and I said in the beginning, I evacuated my parents from the place, right?
Yes.
With that forecast you have, should I take them back or should I keep them there? And for those who haven't left already and are in other areas that may not have been affected, what should they be doing? Because again, can you anticipate the quantum, the volume that will fall tomorrow? Can you focus that?
Yes, and I want to be very honest with you, Evans. Forecasting, as we do over here, is very probabilistic. So you give a certain percentage of chance as to what is going to occur. To be able to give you adequate amounts when it comes to the figures and the quantities as to what you are able to expect, you are not able to give the specifics. You're only looking at a particular range based on the instruments you have. Looking at the global models and the accumulation that is predicting for tomorrow, we are looking between 10 to a maximum of around 30 millimeters spread across the day.
Okay, so that is safe. I mean, that we should be able to manage. Even in flood-prone areas, if you didn't have yesterday's rain, with an up to 20 mm, you should be fine, correct?
Yes.
Up to 30 mm, you should be fine. Okay, good.
Yes.
So that is tomorrow. So tomorrow, you've had it, up to 30 mm, you said, correct? Of rain is expected. And so have that in mind. Don't panic because it's not as bad as today. But I need you to respond to something for me very importantly. The minister referenced California. And one of the key differences is their early warning. And forecasting is a pillar. And their ability to forecast accurately and inform the system to move, to tell people to move is so high. So it is mitigation, right? The minister says you only give them an accurate forecast at 11 p.m. when people were asleep last night. Why?
Evans, I think per our forecast, we are able to issue forecast every 6 hours. And as at 6 p.m., the previous day, that is with our evening forecast, if you look at it, there was a probability of rainfall. And then we followed up. It's because we want to be able to do routine updates to the public. We followed up again with the one at 11 p.m. So it's not that the 11 p.m. was the first indication that we had predicted some rain, but it had actually come in the evening forecast, which was issued at 5 p.m. valid from 6 p.m.
So at 6 p.m., did you forecast this quantum of rain? You told me, we are talking here around 10 p.m. You've already told me that you can expect up to 30 mm. As of 6 yesterday, did you anticipate and forecast up to 100 plus mm?
Generally, we were expecting to see up to moderate rainfall. Looking at the way the system was behaving as it was approaching from a different country, this isn't a rainfall event that emanated exactly from the coastal region of Ghana. It had already started dropping some rainfall when it started a little into Benin, into Togo, and into Ghana. So it becomes a bit difficult to estimate the exact amount. And what happened today is that once it entered into the Ghanaian space, it stagnated a bit, and that is what held up the rainfall that we're expecting to move a bit faster towards the western portion of the country. Hence, once it stagnated due to the low force of the winds, you are expecting that where it's stagnating, you are going to constantly be receiving some amount of rain in that particular area. And that is exactly what we saw.
Okay, so to be clear, as of 6 p.m. last night, you didn't know that it's going to be this severe?
No, we had issued the forecast and we had told you that we were expecting some rain and we had indicated.
No, I mean, I'm just asking because some rain will not get me to go and move my mom, right? Some rain will not get the minister to activate evacuation, right? But if you tell him, look, I'm expecting an unusual quantum of rainfall tomorrow, you, as a precaution, move people. If it's lower, fine. If it's higher, you would have taken the people. As of 5 p.m., 6 p.m., we didn't know that.
Yes, and that's what I'm telling you, that as at 6 p.m. the previous evening, we didn't know that. Okay. Because you are looking at the trajectory of the system that is coming. You are looking at the speeds at which it is moving. So if you are expecting it to move at a certain speed, you are not expecting it to concentrate and drop this amount of rainfall within a certain locality.
Okay.
So as at 6 p.m. we didn't know that.
So
exactly.
So tell me then very quickly, and this is just final. Tell me very quickly, difference between our forecast accuracy and that of California, where they are very accurate. It gives it several hours, something a day in, that allows the system to move and mobilize and get people out of the way before it hits. What's the difference? Is it that you are not adequately equipped? You need more resources so we can begin mobilizing funds for you? Well, what is the problem?
I mean, you've hit the nail right on the head. We're not comparing apples and oranges over here. If you look at the amount of infrastructure and investments that has gone on into certain countries, into early weather warning prediction, we are not at the same level as we are over here. Currently, we rely a lot on satellite imagery and global models to be able to do some of these predictions. We are the state where we need to be able to own our own radar systems to be able to track thunderstorms, look at clouds, and this is what is effectively going to be able to even help us measure the amount of rainfall that we should be expecting. So most often when you are given these forecasts, you are given it with some estimates, and these estimates tend to be a bit wide. So once you either underestimate or you overestimate, it puts the populace into a bit of a fix when it comes to making some of these decisions. And these are some of the investments that we need to look at. Talking about some of the equipment that we need, automatic weather stations, when it comes to the radars. And you see, I always keep mentioning this because when we were talking, I indicated that it started coming from Togo, Benin into Ghana. So you need a system that is able to read and pick up all these systems even before it enters into your space. If you are using satellite imagery, you are only getting a certain perspective, and this perspective is only coming from the top. As to whether it has matured enough, it has started dropping, you are not able to get this. So from the global models, you are now able to determine at what phase is this part of the storm. Is it growing? Is it maturing? Is it splitting into something else? Or has it reached the end, which is now decaying? To be able to know, okay, if it's decaying, then the amount should be able to be reducing. So if you realize from the conversation we had this morning, I think one of your colleagues interviewed me earlier this morning and said, what should we expect? And based on that, I was able to give you that at this phase and based on what we are seeing, it's decaying. So by mid to late afternoon, the effects should have gone down, which is exactly what we saw.
Okay, so do you have an estimate? How much would you need to get you to the California level of prediction? No, not enough about it. This is life and death. No, this is life and death. And until we confront these matters, the politician says he's emotional. So we've gotten him to a place where he wants to fix a problem. This is the time to put forth your requests, because this will happen again. I mean, that is setting. So what do you need? How much would you need to get you to a place where we can say the Ghana Met Office is now as good as the California office? We can get days ahead prediction that allows the Interior Minister to move us from the flood areas.
Sorry, if you can just give me a brief minute.
I will. I will look for it. I'll come back to you. Let me quickly.
I'm going to answer you just in a minute, because I'm going to do this based on a few estimates. So if you look at, let's say, radars that we need, we are looking at long-range radars, Doppler weather radar systems. At the national scale, we should be able to have at least 2. And the estimated factory price, I'm not talking about shipping, taxes, installation, civil works, training, calibration, maintenance, amongst others. This is ranging between $3 to $7 million for one.
Okay.
So on average, if you are taking an average estimated base cost, you are looking at, let's say, on average of around $10 million to be able to procure the radars alone. If you are looking at automatic weather stations, if you are looking at automatic rainfall stations, hydrometers, automatic weather observing stations, that we even need at the airport. So currently we need them at in 6 priority airports. We only have one, 7 Accra International Airport, and these are all systems that we need to be able to put in place. And this is only talking about infrastructure. If we look at when it comes to training, when it comes to calibration, there are dire needs also that we need to look at. So this is just giving you a brief idea about the sort of equipment, how GMET needs to be retooled. And I think also this is where I think my sector minister has made a lot of commitment in his public speaking, his agenda to be able to retool the Ghana Meteorological Agency. And through that, we have already started the process of amending our existing acts to be able to include extra internally generated funds to be able to fund some of these activities. And we are hoping that our stakeholders would be able to buy into this and give us that needed support so we can invest much into the infrastructure, much into the technical capacity, much into the buildings and not necessarily even the machines. I've had the case where we wanted to talk about even staffing capacity, and people would make that comment that even at GMET, you are too many. But if you need people to man stations, to transmit information, to do observations within different parts of the country, this all comes with human resources that we need to pay a bit more attention to.
Okay, and finally, I've seen on social media reports that on Wednesday we can expect similar amount of rains falling in Accra. Can you confirm or deny that? That's very important, people, because that is going around.
I think one thing also that we need to do is it's how our information is carried out. Most often, like I just took you through, the way our information is posted, we do a 6-hourly weather forecast, which is posted routinely. Once in a while, you would have at times even media houses where you've issued a weather forecast for the afternoon, and they might go pick the previous day or the morning forecast, which might not be valid at the time you are looking at it. So it creates a lot of confusion. And there's also this trend of people also generating all manner of information in the name of the Ghana Meteorological Agency and putting it out to cause a bit of fear and panic. And this is something that we are not going to take lightly, and we are going to take people on, especially when it comes to that. But looking at the weekly outlook that we put there, it's looking at the next 24 hours. We are looking a bit into the midweek and then also into the weekend. And per what we are seeing per the global models, again, on Wednesday, we are seeing mostly cloudy conditions around the southern Ghana, but a few places, particularly in the forest sector, is likely to receive rain. On Thursday, it looks good for rain, if I should put it that way, and during the night hours, in the evening to night hours also.
So we can expect rains on Wednesday, but you can't tell tonight how severe that will be, the quantum we can expect.
Exactly. As the time goes on, because we are monitoring it as it comes in. So once it comes in, we'll make sure that we'll update you ahead of time.
Okay,
but the likelihood that you're going to have rain we are able to give you that.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm grateful for that update. So please bear that in mind. Tomorrow, up to 30 mm rain expected. If you put it in contrast to what happened overnight that caused the flooding, we're over 100. And so this says tomorrow is manageable. But I quickly want to wrap up with Richard Kofi-Ameko, who is the head drainage department of the Hydrological Authority. Richard, thank you very much. And I guess where we are now, it's about the statement that was issued from the Works and Housing says you are deploying emergency drainage desilting. How quickly is that going to be done? And when do you hope to wrap that up? Because as the GMET has been predicting, more rains we have been forecast for this month and then next month. Hello, Richard.
Okay, good evening to you. Yeah, can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear, yes.
Okay. Good evening to your cherished viewers and my colleague on the call as well. Yes, I thank you so much that you've chanced on the press release from our minister. Yes, it's true. The ministry is putting a lot of things in place so we can quickly move in to do some immediate emergency works at some flood-prone areas. I cannot give you the exact date, but I'm sure within this week you will hear from us, please. Okay.
But do you have a timeline? Because the rains aren't waiting for us.
Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear. In May, GMET told us that as for June and July, expect heavy rains. They said we should brace ourselves for it. So the rains aren't waiting. You must have a clear timeline. Can you share that with us? And what would that mean? You don't know when it's starting, but sometime this week, but you know when you're going to start and when you're going to end, when you're going to end possibly?
Yes, so we're looking at 2 interventions here. Mm-hmm. We're having the dredging or desilting of our drains, mm-hmm. and we're going to have some culverts that are bottlenecks going to be changed. So all these activities, we're looking at finishing all by November, or before the end of this year.
I mean,
and it's for the entire country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in most of the regions, we are covering most of the regions.
Okay. But
and that is what we call the National Flood Control Program.
Okay. I mean, remember that this is supposed to be the emergency drainage intervention. I mean, emergency drainage interventions last up to November. Are you prioritizing some areas though? Because some areas need it more than others, as we've seen. So which areas you want to finish immediately?
Yeah, it's based on priorities. So we've earmarked some areas like I don't know whether you know Abu Dhabi Enclave. Mm-hmm. Yes. So Abu Dhabi, we have the Kojo, which is if you go to the Kwishi Basin, mm-hmm. there's a stream called Kojo. We're going to work on that. Mm-hmm. Yes. If you go to Weja, we have some works to do at Weja as well. And if you go to Kaswa Enclave also, we have a couple of works to be done there. If you go to the western region, we go to Shama, we go to Akufo-Addo and the rest. We're going to do a lot of works in there.
I didn't hear you. In Greater Accra, as far as I'm concerned, the Odo drain, the Alajo drain, that takes all the filth and the water back into the ocean and lagoon, tend to be the epicenters, if you like. What is happening on those drains?
Yes, so the Odo drain is already under a contract, which is carried by the dredge masters. That is already awarded, and works are ongoing on that particular. on that particular stretch. So it's work ongoing. Yeah.
Okay.
That is why I did not mention that. They already on the site working. So yeah, that's why I did not mention that.
Okay, and so then, how do you explain very, very briefly, in spite of that work, what happened today in Alajo, and those areas, on that, along the Odo, that bore the brunt of what has happened today. Why did that happen, considering that work is already ongoing?
Yes, Evans. So if you look at it carefully, I was happy for your initial, introduction that you were having. It looks like we've lost all our wetlands upstream. So we are allowing a lot of flow to come to the downstream. That is the challenge, which the task force is looking at. We want to reclaim all those wetlands. Once we're able to, get back all those wetlands, as a nation, we should be fine. Because once we're able to hold water upstream, my brother, bet me, we will not have so much flow coming to the down part of the country, of the city. That is why we're having all these challenges. All the low-lying areas are gone, so the excess water that's supposed to go to those areas are not able to go anymore, so water will definitely find its lowest point to settle. That is why we're having all these challenges. And I was happy you displayed on your screen a particular area.
That's the Ramsar
has been encroached.
Yeah, Ramsar.
Oh, it's just one of them. Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's why I said that, once we lose all this, reservoirs, that is where the challenge is. All our ponds are gone, all our lagoons are diminishing. My brother will still have these problems. So to take the political will, as President has said, the indiscipline is too much. So if we're able to strike the whip, as my colleague has said, we'll be fine as a nation.
Okay.
Once we're able to reclaim all this, we'll be fine.
Richard, thank you very much. Listen, enjoy the rest of your evening if you can. I know many of you cannot tonight. I know this firsthand. Many of you will not be able to sleep. I know many people who tonight are still trying to clear debris and remove their, soiled clothes and mattresses from their rooms. The wardrobes have been soiled. The mud had been washed into their rooms. They're going to spend the whole night trying to clear that, and then hope that there'll be some sunshine tomorrow to dry their things. And obviously here we're going to have more rain, so you're not going to have the sunshine. It's a tragedy. And I grew up in a place where this was normal. When it rained, you spend the next 1 week clearing the room, cleaning it, waiting for it to dry. You put the things back, you sleep, you pray for the next rain not to come into the room. So I know many of you are going to go through that tonight. Government says relief is coming away, shelters maybe, but it is in times like this that you need to help your neighbor. If you're in a higher rise apartment, get friends who are affected to come and sleep in there. If you are in a higher plane, again, invite people in until at least a week. People will need a week to sort this out, and so they can go back, and hopefully the sun will start shining again. At least the weather forecast says after Thursday. So yeah, we'll keep monitoring this. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
it's very sad. Indeed, it's very, very sad. I'm appealing to them that, in fact, they should understand that life is very unbearable for us over here. They should come to our aid quickly, give us home, even jobs.
We, the youth here, we don't have any government work you are doing. Only we concentrate on our farm. This is what they are doing in the area. How are we going to survive?
VRA didn't do its work well. That is why Mepe and all towns which were affected were flooded.
We not receive anything. I do not receive 1 cedi, and none of us receive any money from the government. And we are not hearing anything from them.
Government working with VRA and NADMO will ensure that the properties are restored for the persons whose properties will be affected.
If 36,000 people in upper class Accra were displaced, would we be this quiet and this indifferent?
I thought that the VRA chief executive should have been fired long ago. Elsewhere, you don't even wait to be fired, you resign.
It is an indictment on us, the elite. I count myself as part. It is an indictment on us that when things affect the ordinary people, we are a little bit more indifferent. And if you build a society like this, is something I say all the time.
Okay.
James Baldwin famously said, the most dangerous creation of any society is the man with nothing to lose. That is what we are doing.
Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa insists head should have been rolling at the VRA by now.
I'm surprised that the VRA chief executive is still at post, even though he should have retired long ago. I don't know what is this business of keeping retirees on the job, people who are clearly, tired and have no fresh ideas, I'm surprised he's still at post. And the last time I checked, the VRA itself has not conducted any internal inquiry. It is another reason why he must go. So I thought that the VRA chief executive should have been fired long ago. Elsewhere, you don't even wait to be fired, you resign.
As the government delays in compensating and relocating victims, the plight of the almost 40,000 Ghanaian victims continues to worsen.
The VRA should surely know much about us. They should come to our aid and knows that, okay, they have destroyed us. So they should come in a way that they can give us a compensation. I'm not calling for any huge amount. They should even restore me to where I was. In case of anything, I can take care of my family back again as it was.
All of the youth here, it's very difficult for us to make it. I want to give my children a good foundation, even that I can also help somebody. But now, in fact, I don't know how to do. I don't know, because even I don't have food to eat. At times I need to eat once in a day because I have 4 kids.
How are they surviving, those 4 kids?
In fact, it's very difficult. Indeed, it's very, very sad. I'm appealing to them that, in fact, they should understand that life is very unbearable for us over here. They should come to our aid quickly, give us home, even jobs. Me, even if they can give me a soft loan, I'll be very happy to buy my car. That's all. I know I can work, give my children better life.
We not receive anything. I do not receive 1 cedi, and none of us receive any money from the government. And we are not hearing anything from them. So now I want to appeal to them that they should take care of us. They should come to our aid and help us. We are dying.
Okay.
If we sleep, we can't sleep. We can't sleep.
How is this affecting your relationship with your wives? The fact that the man doesn't have money now.
As they get it earlier, they are not getting it that way, and that wants to become something like grudge, and because they are not getting it as we get
before.
It before. So sometimes you want to chop something to become
If you want to do the do.
Because why you can do the do?
Okay.
It's also become a problem.
It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
Meanwhile, at the onset of the spillage, a Deputy Minister of Energy, Herbert Krapa, assured of government resolve to support the victims.
Government's priority and the unfortunate ones that will be affected, property that will be affected by the spill. Government, working with VRA and NADMO, will ensure that the properties are restored for the persons whose properties will be affected.
But not much has been done yet. The Minister Designate for Works and Housing, Kojo Nkrumah, on Thursday, March 14, 2024, revealed on the floor of Parliament that government was at the stage of collecting background data on victims, insisting some 80 million have been made available towards resettlement.
Mr. Speaker, I earlier alluded to the 80 million cedis that has been set aside for the purposes of supporting the rehabilitation and resettlement. And as he confirms, the President also spoke about it in the independence speech. I earlier mentioned it here, that it is money that has been set aside